Hello and welcome to Pixels 2021, the business of digital entertainment. Now we present a panel discussion on streaming and the new economics of cinema. Welcoming our moderator, Mr. Nitin Tej Ahuja, CEO, Producers Guild of India. Right now, he is facing some issues with the network, so he'll be joining soon. Meanwhile, Ms. Mansi would be with us, who is VP Strategy and Development Network, I10, In10 Media Network, who would be moderating this session. Now welcoming our speakers, Anindo Banerjee, Originals Head, Poichoy, Sunil Doshi, Director, Manzar Studios, Ajit Thakur, CEO, AHA. Dear audience, keep posting your questions in the chat box. Panel will select a few and address. Over to you, Ms. Mansi.
Thank you so much, Smriti, for having all of us on this panel, and we look forward to having Nitin join us, and I can see him here. So firstly, yes, so we have you here, Nitin. Hello?
Yeah, hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great.
Nitin, we can't hear you.
I've switched off my. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
I can preserve data. Okay.
No problem. We are here and
So
we are
where are
ready
we at
and we are
now?
live. We've just started off and,
Okay,
with
great.
the introduction, and now over to you.
Great. So thank you, everyone. Sorry for this technical goof up, which is ironical on an internet and mobile forum. But anyway, here we are. So thank you, IAMI, for inviting us. And I think it's a very, very important discussion, especially at this point of time. You know, we all living through very disruptive times, and there's been chaos pretty much all across. But I think the only thing has probably zoomed in the last year or so, besides hand sanitizer sales and laboratory tests for COVID, is probably consumption of content online. And a large part of it actually being big films being premiered on OTT platforms. Now, of course, we were no strangers to Netflix originals or Amazon originals, but I'm sure we all agree quantum of films and the scale of films now premiering online has totally changed. So I think we can just start off, by going around and figuring out, do you think this is a temporary COVID-driven phenomenon or something more fundamentally has changed for the forever? So maybe Ajit, you can start the ball rolling. Ajit, you're on mute.
Mr. Ajit, you are on mute.
Hi, Nitin. So I think it's a phenomenon which has been fast-tracked by COVID, but I think it was always the destination that increasingly the world and Indian audience will gravitate towards OTT. I think for a couple of months, I think the blip was there, which was fast-tracked by COVID. Otherwise, I think it's a natural trajectory that it's following, and it'll grow faster and faster. So I principally believe that COVID was just a bit of an accelerator, and that's about it. But this conversion is set to happen.
Sunil, your take? You're on mute.
Mr. Doshi, you are on mute.
Yeah, thank you, Nitin. I personally feel that we are seeing a very tectonic shift at this point of time. I personally believe that the theatrical will coexist undoubtedly, but with a receding opportunities and receding returns. And I think there will be a very carved out destination that small, independent, and a medium size films will perhaps directly go to the streaming platform and along with the major films as a kind of a tentpole or a circus films probably will still go out when the COVID situation is going to be out. But it is a definite trend that streamers are going to exist and they will also have a kind of a situation for small and medium and independent films to be directly streamed on this particular platform. However, the economics of that is a very nascent stage. At this point of time, we have only a very limited data because these data are controlled by the streamers themselves. So once we know, and I just actually read a very interesting report of the information of San Francisco, that it really talks about actually how much genuinely we need to figure out the veracity and the truth with respect to the paying subscribers versus password sharing subscribers and all that. So economy on this is not yet certain since it is a kind of a newborn child. So people are playing with it in a manner that it suits everybody. But I think the contours of this business and economics will very soon be developed once the vaccination drive is over. There is a herd immunity that is going out, and people actually start going and consume. However, there is a direct to consumer shift as a nature, as a tectonic, after a long war between father greed versus mother nature. We've come to realize a lot of stuff, and this is one of them.
Thank you, Sunil. What do you feel, Mansi? How permanent is this shift?
I actually, Nitin, I really believe and I agree to what Sunil has said that, cinema, going to cinema is like, experiential entertainment, right? It's a 360-degree entertainment experience where, you go out with your family, your friends for an outing and, you go in there, you sit down, you have some popcorn, you watch the film, there's an interval, you come out, watch, enjoy the ambience, have some banter and chatter, and then you leave, right? Cinema has been, it's been so close to us, right? From, childhood to adulthood. It's a part of our nostalgia, right? It's a part of our social environment. And honestly, I feel we as social human beings, definitely need this entire experience of going out and, coming in contact with other people and, making a contact. Because I preferably, I would say that I, can compare this to food. For example, when you watch a movie and OTT, right? So you watch it, sitting back at home, just like Zomato. Zomato brings you the food while you're at home, relaxing back in the comfort of your home. And dine out experience, is a different experience in itself, right? So going to cinema is like a dine out experience where you go there and you enjoy the entire ambience. So I think it's more than just watching, a piece of content on a smart TV or an OTT platform. So I totally agree with Sunil on this bit. It's not dying. It's not going away. This is a temporary phenomena, and it's going to fade out in a while.
Thanks, Mansi. What do you feel, Anando, on this topic? You're on mute, Anando. Still on mute. We can't hear you, Anando.
Yeah, better?
Yeah,
Hello?
much better. Yeah,
Okay.
we can hear you now.
I kind of partly agree with Mansi and partly don't, because I think it's the entire economy of the country which one needs to take into consideration. Why I'm saying, like Mansi was talking about going out, dining out, it's a kind of a celebration which happened, which we all used to do because cinema going experience was really great because it was not only cinema, so we used to eat out. Probably children used to go to the playing zones and a lot other things which happened. But with the pandemic coming in and with the salary cuts, with job opportunities going away, so I think all these things will have to keep that in consideration because people really don't have that kind of money in hand. Yet they need entertainment because people need entertainment at the end of the day. They need to eat definitely, and they need to be entertained also. So probably here where the OTT comes in, gives them less budget alternatives. So yes, definitely people will again go back to the cinemas. I also believe and I would really want that to happen. But having said that, the experience of going out in a limited manner will be there from now on. I mean, if people used to go out, say, 12 times a year, for example, it will come down to probably 6. That's what I believe.
So Nitin, I wanted to add something because I don't disagree with either Sunil or Mansi. But I fundamentally believe the reason I said that the shift is permanent is for two reasons. I think, and this was coming because we've seen this in the US. I think the kind of cinema that people will go to theaters for, the spectacles, will continue to thrive and they'll continue to grow and become a bigger share of the kind of films we do. For instance, the Cop Universe of Rohit Shetty. That is best enjoyed in the cinemas. But a lot of cinema, and not just small, but a lot of independent cinema, a lot of, let's say, non-action, non-adventure cinema, will increasingly struggle to find enough eyeballs to fill a theater. But those films are good. So they will find an audience between television and OTT and in the long term on OTT. So that is one. The other thing that's irreversible now, because we have missed the bus on that, is that about 10 years back, China went up from 5,000 screens to 30,000 screens. We moved from 4,000 to 6,000. And there was a need for it to have a much higher penetration of screens in a country which is film crazy. That didn't happen. And it's unlikely going to ever happen to that level. But what might happen is you might have, 4DX and experiential kiosks in which people go and watch cinema through, 3D, 4D, 5D, and so on. So I fundamentally believe that the trend is irreversible, but I definitely didn't mean to say that cinema, there won't be cinema goers, but they'll go for a certain kind of cinema and for the rest, they'll wait for its release.
I think one thing we all agree on, which I think everyone has mentioned, is that the kind of cinema that plays out on theaters and the kind of cinema that plays out on OTT platforms will obviously be different. So maybe, we could talk a bit about that, starting with Sunil. How different are the two mediums in terms of the platforms themselves and the kind of content that, suit them adequately? You're on mute, Sunil.
It's very interesting point Ajit has mentioned, and which actually it nobody really talks about it, is why is this situation that happened and we have missed that bus, and it's so right. And is it important enough now to start building theaters? No, because now I think technology is building the exhibition and solving the problems that the real estate and infrastructure and entertainment centers could not provide. So technology has swapped that and taken over that, in a way, a kind of a distribution, and a near absence of a middleman between the product and the consumer. So that's a very valid point, and I really appreciate that. Thank you, Ajit, for that. As I said in my opening remarks, that I think we are all in for a coexistence model, and we will continue to do that. While we are moaning that we did not expand more than 9,600 screen, but we also need to believe that we have currently 750 million screens in the country. With mobile and television and OTT and all that. So there is also a greater way. I think content are going to be made, the consumption pattern, anytime, anywhere, any place. I think that tectonic shift once again has happened, that for people to consume any kind of democratized content that is currently available, whether it is a gaming content, it is YouTube content, it is streaming content, or short-term content. I think you will have to excel in storytelling. And I genuinely believe that there is going to be a very big paradigm shift, that story is going to be the new talent, not the actors, not the actresses, not the directors. I think the story itself is going to be the new talent. I think that people need to manage and people need to be agent of. And that will be a great catalyst in the next round of development and migration of this. Between all that we said in this country currently today, there are just about 45 to 50 million paid subscribers. So, and we really don't know that what it's a paid subscriber versus viewership, that how many people are actually watching a particular episode for how many minutes. So there are all very deceptive numbers, being thrown upon at that time. But to the best of my knowledge, as an insider into the business, I consider that as about 42 to 43 million people who are actually paying in this country, including all the other, small size OTT player to medium size to a large size player. We are also not making a distinction between AVOD and SVOD in our country. AVOD is still supreme. Television is still supreme. And it caters to India that we are not, the others are not able to cater. So, for example, Netflix, to my surprise, do not even have a payment wallet facility. They only have a credit card facility, and the number of people who use credit cards in our country are so insignificant compared to the, Mofussil India that really we are talking about. So, I think there are a lot of cultural, social, and economical changes need to happen in this storytelling ecosystem. Because when it comes to consumption, all this factor comes to play. So there will be films for the theater. Their mediums are not different. I think it is all about what impact that story has left on you, whether it is Anurag Kashyap's or Neeraj Pandey or Karan Johar's film. I think it is all about that. In spite of all these things happen, see a situation about our theater. Theater stopped happening, the plays, but it got a shot in the arm by streaming theaters the worldwide, and the number of people who actually saw plays is 11 times more than the actual people who really saw the plays in the theater in different parts of the world. So in a way, it works for a different people, different business. So are we as a consumer talking, or as a business in the practicing businessmen we are talking? They're two different things, and you'll have two different interpretation of the same question.
No, but as a creator, Mansi, as a producer, would you explore or theatrical release differently from a OTT original? And if so, how?
Yeah, I think definitely, Nitin. I agree to a part of what Sunil says. About the story being the hero, right? Apart from being the ensemble cast, bringing them together. But I also feel that the medium primarily also dominates and drives the type of content that you're producing. For example, when you go to cinema, you want to watch a larger than life film on a 70 canvas, right? So you want to watch event films. So, and when you watch content on an OTT platform, well, you're looking at watching maybe a social drama or, family drama or any of that on a small screen. So I strongly feel that going forward, keeping the different changes and the social, economic, cultural dynamics and changes happening due to pandemic, content will be dominated by the medium you're making it for, right? So content needs to drive that. So if you're going to a theater and you're spending that money, and coming from the point of what Ananda is saying, if actually people instead of 12 times in a year are going to theater and 6 times, well, then they're going to go and watch your event films, right? Your larger than life, like your Suryavanshi, right? You're going to go and watch an 83 because it's about, the cricket match, and you want to watch it on the big screen and clap and whistle and, be a part of this entire community that goes to a theater to feel alive. So I
Or a,
think that's
or a
very
Bahubali for that matter, yeah. Or a Bahubali, like which has that kind of
absolutely a Bahubali or an Avenger, which gives you that entire feel, and you want to go and enjoy the real experience that you get of content in a larger space.
Ananda, maybe you can throw some more light on how you would view a commissioning or acquisition of a film on a platform differently from what a studio would do for a theatrical acquisition. Like, how do the mediums vary?
So you see, like Hoichoi is part of a bigger outfit, which is like the mother company is SVF, which actually produces
Right.
films, like has been producing films for the last 25 years. So I have been like I'm witnessing both sides, like how a OTT platform is gaining more subscriptions, and yet films not working too well because people are not going out to watch. But just to, I'm digressing maybe, but then like recently, like we were doing a show called Tangra Blues. It was supposed to be a web film, um, but again, like a little larger web film for that matter. And so now it's turned out to be so good. So now we have decided we will make this a theatrical release because see that's we want to give that experience to the viewers also. We want viewers to go to the theaters. So how it's going to help us then? So if it goes to the theaters with the kind of promotion it happens there, and then along with the kind of buzz it will be created for that going to the theaters, and after that, like if I show it in Hoichoi, it's I think it's good for all of us that way. So I mean, content obviously like whatever Mansi is saying is correct. Like we'll probably keep in mind what kind of stuff we'll see. So there are a lot of people coming to us with ready films which they want to kind of give us for us to for acquisition. But then it's now we are also a little finicky that way. Like it's not that we are taking every film, every other film which is coming, because again now that the focus is on the OTT and people are really watching the kind of content we are giving. So any kind of films we cannot take. Like because I know, like, if it's a huge film, they are still waiting for the theaters to open up, and they will give it there. But in a regional scenario, with a Bengali vernacular scenario, if it's a smaller film, it's actually smaller than the shows which we do for the OTT. So it's not that like all stuff like which are coming on board, and we get into the acquisition mode.
I think, Ananda, you raised a very important point, and maybe Ajit can shed some more light on it. People tend to see theatrical and OTT as two opposite ends of the spectrum, and there being a zero-sum game between the two. But whereas pre-pandemic, any study that we showed that box office and OTT subscriptions were rising both in tandem, with both helping each other. So Ajit, having been on both sides of the fence, can you shed some more light on that? You are on mute, Ajit.
Absolutely right. Because and it happens to be like Hoichoi, the main promoters themselves are a film company. One of AHA's promoters is Geeta Arts, right? One of the biggest film studios in the south of the country. So, and I think both will coexist. Just to go back a little bit, Nitin will come there. So, in terms of the brief, I think the fundamental difference in the driver of briefs for what we'll commission comes from the
Right.
mode of consumption, right? So, in a cinema, you need to fill up a hall with 500,000 people at a time. And there has to be a certain kind of appeal for everyone, for it theaters to fill up, right? In television, you need to at least get the 4 people in the house who are watching together to watch what is the lowest common denominator, which became soaps in this country. In OTT, it's an extremely personalized medium. Even if people are now watching increasingly on the smart TVs, they are not watching it together. Maybe maximum 2 people at a time. They're watching it at 12 in the night. They'll watch when they want. In fact, the peak viewership is between 10 and 12. So that personalization is driving something that is a great news for film producers around the country, right? There's a certain, remember, we make 1,200 films plus, Sunil will have the data better. 1,200 plus films for 6,000, maybe 8,000 screens, but I think 6,000 are functional for that. So where will all those films go? So typically for the smaller and independent films, actually the theaters if they get a release, if at all, and every year there are 50% films that don't get a release, they would get a Friday, and by Sunday it's off if the other film is doing well, right? Because they could not fill everybody together. But that independent film or that small film or that niche film will find a set of audience, which I call the niche mass on OTT. There will be 100, but the word of mouth will go to 1,000 and then to 100,000 and so on and so forth. So actually, I think OTT has opened up the economy for films in ways that we had never fathomed before, because television was only picking up the big theatrical success at the right price and not otherwise, because in television, there's no proven track record of an indie film working. But on OTT, all kinds of films are working, including the big theatrical successes, for the reasons that Indo pointed out. I mean, in the last month, we've had 2 examples. A film which was a super hit on box office, did very well for AHA, and the film that the producers were in the queue. Every week there were 4 releases. They were not getting it for the last 6 months, despite theaters opening in Andhra a few months back. They said, okay, we'll bring it here. And that was also a success. Now, both will coexist. I don't think the theatrical revenues projections I'm clear on, but what I know is the ecosystem for the producers of films. This is great news. They can make all kinds of cinema, and the OTT will find them the big niches, which will eventually turn them into cult hits. And maybe there will be a time when from OTT, it will go to theater. The time will come for that. So I feel that the mode of consumption is driving a much wider demand for all kinds of cinema. And it's a great thing. We should be able to enjoy, let's say, what Irfan stood for, the kind of films he made, as much as the big visual spectacles or event cinema that we're talking about. And that's what is opened up. So I'm answering question directly that for filmmakers, it's great news. For the film business itself, I'm not an expert, but I think both mediums will coexist for a long, long time to come. In fact, in India, I think even satellite television will stay there for quite some time.
Sunil, as Ajit just pointed out, it is great news for the producer, this booming of OTT oblique online streaming services. But the de-risking it offers also comes at a price. That the hope of hitting a jackpot with a Beja Fry or a Uri or a DDLJ is sort of capped because there's typically no upside on this medium. So what is your take on, the trade-off between no upside and a fixed revenue? You are mute, Sunil.
Very interesting question, and I was hoping that you would ask this question. Uh, in India, traditionally, the shelf value of a film has always been under question. So there has always been 3 months window, 6 months window, shrunk to 15 days window, now direct to consumers, and we have been always. So I think we want to capitalize. We are an opportunist as a country, and to do that. From a filmmaker's point of view, tell me. How wonderfully that anybody else could solve the problem besides technology. Susanna Bier made a bird box. 87 million people watched it in the first 12 days of it being on Netflix. Ya Bele by Sunita Rapurwala has 47 million people watched it, to the extent that the chairman of Netflix in his investor conference cited this as an example of a film, and being talked about in a Netflix investors conference, being talked about that 1 week 47 million people reached out. I can bet that you can release uh, any films of Anurag Kashyap or any independent filmmakers in the country. Nowhere in the world would have reached a 47 million paid ticket buyers in the theaters to really do that, because the cost of P&A and all that. Now coming back to your question, it's very early days, but I am telling you that the next war is going to be between the creative community and the platform owners. I think with respect to the IP, it's a very often word called abused IP. You have taken over everything on a 10% of margin. People are not going to be satisfied. So let me give you an example. The entire creative community, unfortunately in our country there is no unity. We have many Indias within India, and within those Indias there is so much of diversity of greed, opportunity, languages, misunderstanding, misinterpretation, everything. I'll give you an example of what happened in France. The entire creative community came together. They made a representation to the government. They aligned with the government. They sat down with us. They say, hey guys, you can't work like this in this country. Every subscriber that you have, everybody who's there, they actually share a revenue with the creative guys on the subscription basis. Okay? They have given a notice to Amazon until April, because they are hiding under the Prime and Prime Video, so they are not able to get the exact numbers. But now, that one matter, they think all of our people are very happy because we are getting the credits at the front end and the end credits and all that. But now, I think the writers, the creators, the showrunners are actually going to demand a pie in the revenue share, and that is going to be the new one. Because where do you head? Where do you head now? Because Netflix is suddenly not going to open up theaters to show this films. They are very, very clear on their strategy, all their IPs or whatever it is. So I personally feel for a for a small to medium sized films and filmmakers, I think this is a great boom. For people like Rohit Shetty and perhaps the people who make Bahubali, that's not a great thing. And also, not to release the films in the theater is a kind of a positioning कि नहीं मेरा एक होर्डिंग तो जू पे होना ही चाहिए, you know. ऐसे ही वी ऑल नाउ से देखिए मेरा टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया में एक बड़ा ऐड आना चाहिए. तो इट एक्चुअली coincided in their mind about their status, their pride, their prejudice, their ego, and this and that. Today, I think technology is really solving all the problem. You ask young people, they don't care what, they don't even know what is theatrical release. If parents take them to see the Marvel movies, they will go and see. They are very happy to play either. So while we are talking about 47 million and all that, there are 360 million people who are playing on Twitch in every hour of the day. So where are the numbers? So I personally feel that unless creative community is going to work in close tandem unifiedly with these people to share some of their revenue, some of their subscription revenues, and I think that is what is going to happen in the years to come.
Mansi, what's your take? Do you like the security of a budget plus 10% or the gamble of striking it big on the box office?
Honestly, I think Nitin, prefer the latter. right? I think just budget, but 10% is not going to suffice, and it's not going to be enough because, I also somewhere feel that, it's time where you need to own a pie in what you create. So it cannot be that, you go to a OTT platform or you go to a broadcaster and, you give up the entire universe, right? In legal terms, what we ask for in paperwork, that give me the entire universe, and the entire, everything, all the rights and entirety. I think it's high time that, we need to, the creators, the creative community, need to own a pie in what they are creating, and rightly so. I think, you've got to be fair about it, and that fairness can be subjective, after much discussions and, specific standard that we set up in the industry. But definitely, I think owning a pie in the IP is way forward.
I would love to hear Ajit and Anindo's take on this. You're both on mute.
So listen,
Yeah, Ajit.
I don't know Mansi enough, but I know Sunil knows the other side of the numbers. So I'm going to take it head on. I absolutely think eventually it should be a fair share, right? And this plus 10% or whatever the platforms are offering is not going to help grow that independent film community, right? But remember what we are battling. We're battling a country where still a large portion of the youth are still, being able to watch it free from the many rogue websites, right? The biggest platform in the country in terms of subscriptions is at 1 rupee a day, 399, right? Most of us are at the same price point. I can assure you that at that price point, even with the kind of growth that all of us have seen, that is not covering up for more than 30% of the cost, because the technology comes at a price, the content is coming at a price, there's marketing to it. And Sunil, absolutely, we are putting 2 hoardings in Juhu, in the equivalent of that in Hyderabad, and we are giving marketing, the kind of marketing we'll talk later. So the pride part we have taken care of. The revenue share is absolutely something that will come. Like it came in the film ecosystem, it will come, but it'll come. It has to come at the time when the platforms are able to. I mean, today the right price should be minimum about 12-1500 a year. Most of the platforms, except for the ones which have premium English content, which is a very small segment of the country, are at 300 to 400 a year. So that is 60-70% subsidized. So somewhere that has to grow for this to happen. But I can tell you the ecosystems that we are developing already since the pandemic happened. We're looking at ecosystems where we are leaving languages to the producers. We are sometimes we're obviously leaving satellite behind. We're also agreeing where we'll part fund and keep digital, and they have the absolute right to release in theaters if they feel, and we will then respect that and move 30 days back. So we have already evolved the ecosystem, but I think at a 70% subsidized cost, to do a fair play. Remember that there is zero risk, right? That's how television economy around the world in India has grown. In America, the TV producers used to, deficit finance their shows and keep the international syndication rights. In India, the entire thing was funded by the broadcasters, so they kept the rights. We will somewhere fall in between over the next 3 to 5 years, unlike a theatrical where the entire risks and hence the reward is there. So I think eventually a hybrid model will evolve where the producer takes some risks, and absolutely there will be many ways of sharing it. So that's as direct an answer, Sunil, because I know any disguised or half answer would not work with you.
Anindo?
I will put it very simply. Like I think like it's a situation where everybody will be happy. In that sense, like see, if you're really looking at film strictly, how it happens. So there's a writer who writes it, and a director who directs it. Finally, it goes to the producer who kind of releases the film. And if he really earns a lot on the movie, it's not that he goes back and pays the director and the writer more. If it's not like pre-decided, most of the time that doesn't happen. So in that case, like I don't think like paying them premium after the show is doing very well in an OTT really doesn't work for me. But yes, not it's a budget plus 10%. That can obviously vary according to the content, what kind of a content, who the cast is, how much subscription I get out of it. So I will judge it that way. So there are small films, there are big films, there's cars, there's where it has been shot, whether it's been shot in Kolkata or in Pondicherry. So that is going to make a lot of difference. Like these are the things we need to take into consideration. And then okay, if we need to pay a little bit more to the producer for that, we're ready to do that because we are sure that probably we'll get a little more subscription for that. We might not. That's a risk we are taking. So at the end of the day, I think for the producer, like he is covering his cost, just like Ajit said, like there's no risk situation which happens in television. So producers getting the cost is covered, and if the producer is good and fair, he or she is probably paying all the money to their technicians, so that is also covered. And we are at the end of the day happy we get a content which we can probably get a little bit of a subscription out of it. And finally, at the end of the day, even if not now, later on, we can go and make some profits out of that. So I think it's a happy situation for all of us until and unless there's a, like Sunil said, like if it's a Rohit Sethi film or a huge film, that's probably runs in a different kind of economics. But in generally speaking, I think it's something which will like put everybody in a happy situation.
Let's move on to another but
By the
hugely
way,
important question. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
as an aside, Sunil has never worked for 10%. I can assure you, in any ecosystem before, after, or ever. Just as an aside.
So let's move on to one very important question. How do you measure success on this medium? For all its shortcomings, the box office in theatrical provided a barometer for you to judge, अच्छा ये film का budget इतना होना चाहिए, depending on how similar films have done in the past. You based your star fees on your opening weekend typically. Now, in this opaque world of OTT numbers, how do you measure what has worked, what has not worked, talent fees going forward, budgets going forward? Any thoughts on that?
You want me to take that, Sunil, or you want to start?
Please, Ajit, you take, please.
Okay. So, the OTT world is fascinating when it's. I have spent years in television and also in films. We were always going by some directional. So the TAM meters or the later meters were giving you a direction. It was never an absolute science, and I've always disagreed with the measurement on TV. I think the TV audience was more diverse than the content we dished out to them. And I've always tried to do that in both the platforms and channels I ran. Cinema box office is unpredictable for so many other factors, but yeah, it was still fairly accurate. I think OTT is like a 100% accurate science. We know what we are making, we know who we are making it for, and we know how much they are watching, and when have they stopped, when have they come back to watch or never finished it, from there, where have they gone? So it's all there, right? And I think that is one thing. While the IP is a larger debate because of the pricing models in the country, that is one thing we're very happy to share with our producers. In fact, Prime Video does a fabulous thing called self-publishing, where the producers are able to publish their films, see the numbers they've got, and they earn basis that. So this is one place where OTT should be a delight for all the partners. You know exactly how your film is done, and whenever we move to performance-based or hybrids where performance are a part of it, the data is accurate to the last person who watched and for how much time and the last minute. So it's just about amount of transparency of the platform, and that's all that matters. If that happens, then producers should not have, or the content creators should know. And there's so much to learn from the data. In fact, it's I think hours we spend and we're able to scan through only 10% data that we have. And that is why, every OTT platform is and must invest in upgrading to the, recognition engines that are the best in case in the world around. So yeah, so very happy to, we have always been happy to share the data with our producers. We have given some incentives to some of them, and it's very accurate. There's no guesswork. It is as it was.
Sunil, your take?
I personally feel that there is going to be from this data point that Ajit mentioned, that the next big change which is going to happen is the rise of remote and a co-viewing behavior of a remote control. I think that so far there has been a smart television and OTT and all that. Also, the data points also tell us that sometimes there is something called a Netflix cheating that is happening. And what I mean by Netflix cheating, that me and my wife starts to watch a particular show, let's say called Bridgerton together, and next day maybe I was late from the office, so she didn't stop and she started to watch in her bedroom. I wanted to catch up. I lost that interest in Bridgerton because my wife is watching episode number 8 and I'm watching episode number 2. So I started to watch something else. My son, in the meantime, in the living room was playing on a Fortnite. What has happened is that we are fragmenting the audience. As Ajit said a little while ago, that it's a very personalized technology medium. But at the same time, obviously, the regulations coming in and all the kind of content people currently are, a little skeptical of the way forward. I think the often not heard word is co-viewing together. And as you know, recently Disney has introduced a feature called Group Watch, which probably 8 or 10 different people at a different places can watch the same content together. And young people anyway do not like to socialize; they like to socialize online, and that's true. Following what Disney did, Amazon started to introduce a co-watching feature. It,
Can you hear Sunil? I can't.
I think we lost Sunil for a bit.
Right.
This Cisco is a tricky system.
Right.
So, do you want somebody else to?
Yeah. So,
fill in?
Mansi, can you throw some light on that question about how difficult or not it is to measure success on OTT?
I think Nitin, I agree with, what Ajit said a while back, because, being on the other side also, of OTT, we have an absolutely accurate, analytics, what we call, right, system, which measures and tells you at like even seconds, right, that which viewer has watched, how much paused, what is the gender, what is the high moment in the episode, what is the low moment. So there's an absolute accuracy existing in terms of analytics and matrix as far as OTT is concerned.
It's not in the
So
public domain like the box office numbers are.
no, it's definitely not on. It's in the public domain, but the platforms, right? The teams working on the back end of the platforms are very well aware, and actually a lot of platforms also now going forward. They're a little hesitant in sharing data, but they do share data. In fact, I hear that Netflix, of course, from peers and from colleagues, that Netflix actually shares data with you after the first 7 weeks is the first time they share data with you, and then again after a few 28 or after 1 month. So they're also opening up and sharing data with you, which pretty much tells you that, here's your film and this is the data and this is the matrix and this is what is performed. So I think that's an absolutely accurate system, different than television. I agree with Ajit. Again, working on the other side of linear TV. That matrix is a little difficult to, pinpoint on and understand that, how are your ratings, right? How are you arriving at a certain ratings? So that is different, but OTT is pretty accurate in that sense.
But there's an audience question which I think Ajit you touched upon, and maybe you can address in some more depth. With subscription fees in India being so typically low, and there being such a plethora of platforms, do you
sorry,
think
sorry,
obvious-
guys. Sorry, guys,
No
I
problem.
got disconnected.
No problem.
Lights went off. Lights went off. Yes.
Right. So Ajit, with OTT subscription fees being so low and there being such a plethora of platforms, do you think OTTs can actually afford to sustain paying for your film acquisitions for a sustained amount of time?
So, yes, I briefly touched upon it. So, I think the pricing that we should get and the pricing that we are right now charging is just about the phase of habit building in a country where there's a lot of free content available, right? So, I think it's a phase. I believe that the OTTs will continue to acquire the big films because they are tentpoles for the OTTs as well, and they combine the niches that I was talking about. And obviously consolidation will happen, right? So not everybody is playing for break even right now. I think a lot of people are playing for a market share of the customers, and especially their SVOD. That is a great sign that that particular individual or family pays value to the content that is there on the OTT. Yes, it should be 3 times what we are charging right now. So I think The market share dynamics will mean that OTTs will continue to pay even if there is no break even in some of those big tentpole films, because as you gain the market share over time, the habit will build and hopefully we'll be able to get the fair share of revenues. But I read that question from the audience. I think the question is absolutely bang on. It is getting more competitive, so the price wars will happen, but that happens in every industry. And then consolidation will happen. People will together or someone will buy the other. But the end of it, I think somebody was mentioning at the beginning, it finally comes down to which OTT has the best stories. If you have the best stories, people will pay, and people will pay for a year, for 3 years, as long as you can promise and build a brand. I still believe that, of all my business school learning, I've applied more to entertainment than ever in Unilever, that it's finally about brands. You build a brand, you build a promise of great stories and a fantastic product, and people will pay, and over time we'll upgrade them and we'll consolidate. So yes, we're going to buy for irrespective of the price that we can charge.
There's one more audience question which maybe Anando can field. What do you see as a future of theatrical exhibition in India, given this whole OTT release phenomenon that's happening? You're on mute, Anando.
I think that is going to coexist. Like first let me clear this out. There's no fight between say the films which is getting released in the theaters and us. So the the more it goes to the theaters, at the end of the day, it is good for us, because after a month or a couple of months when it gets released on OTTs, it's always good for us. Like it gets a buzz there. People watch it. People miss it. They'll wait for it to come to the OTT. So that way, it's a kind of a coexistence which I'm talking about. So there will be theatrical releases, there will be theaters, and that's going to stay. It's probably the kind will change a bit. That's what I feel. But I think it's a cohesive. I mean, it has to be a kind of a coexistence which is needed. It's just a
think we're running-
new business model comes up.
I think since we are running short of time now, maybe we could all round this up by where do you see this going in the short and medium term? Starting with you, Sunil, please.
I think happy days are here again. That's it, I would say. That it's a boom time for all the great storytellers. My friend Ajit and Mansi and Anindo will actually give you more profound response than my being a kid in a Disney shop. So,
Mansi, let's have your profound response.
Thank you, Sunil, for the adjective profound. So, Nitin, I honestly, would really like to take this forum, and I would like to take this opportunity of being on the forum to just, communicate a message that you don't really have to kill a platform for the other platform to be successful, right? So, I honestly feel there's enough room, which Ajit mentioned on the top, there's enough room for linear TV, OTT and movies, okay, to exist cohesively in one environment. And I think it's all of us as a community on the business side, on the creative side, who needs to make sure that all the three mediums are coexisting cohesively and they're flourishing in the media and entertainment dynamic environment.
Anando?
So that's my call. That's what I said. Just like and additionally, what I see is like OTT is giving a bigger and a better opportunity to tell more stories. So it's like what Sunil said. Like it's good for the makers. Like they'll have more opportunity. They will be. That's why we are having more young, fresh makers coming up, because before they didn't have the opportunity to tell their stories properly, because it was very difficult to go on to make a film. So now the opportunity is because the entire like films, television, OTT, all three together is giving a bigger kind of a scenario, like for storytellers. So it's really going to work for all of us.
What do you see, Ajit, in your
So-
crystal ball?
Yes, then I'll quickly take one question because people have patiently sat through this. There was a question from somebody saying what would be the competition for short and independent films if theatrical films are now released on OTT? If you are an independent producer, I want to tell you that the appetite for content on OTT is infinite. The theatrical releases will probably cover only less than 10% of what there is. So all of you keep making a lot of your shorts and independent films, and there'll be somebody to take it. To sum it up, I don't think I can add anything about the present, but I can tell you that I'm very nervous about the future. everything we know and how OTT works, I think in 2 years it will change. The only thing that is a given, so all of our discussions will be irrelevant probably 2 years from now at the rate at which technology is changing. I think Sunil talked about it a couple of times. The only constant is whether climate change or COVID, the need for people's entertainment and good stories will remain. So in whatever format it will come. So keep writing good stories. Some platform or some device will come and take your stories.
I think you can't top that conclusion. So let's just end over here. And thank you everyone for a very, very insightful conversation. Thank you IMI for organizing it.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all. Thank you. Thank you. It's
Thank
great
you.
to be
Thank
here.
you very much. Thank you.
Thank you all of you for such an amazing discussion. Special thanks to our platinum partner AppsFlyer. Dear audience, stay tuned for more. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, just